Welcome back everyone, it's Eric from Eric Candy here. Today we are back with another first impressions video, and today we're going to be looking at the new Sword and Shield set. It just got revealed in full for Japan, and we have translations of all the cards now, so definitely wanted to get around to checking this out and see what we're going to be getting in our Sword and Shield set. Now this is only the Japanese counterpart, and there's only like 120 cards in their set, excluding like their full arts and stuff. The international version is going to have like 200, so we have a lot of cards unaccounted for, but by and large this set will be the bulk of our Sword and Shield set, despite still missing some cards. In terms of ultra rares, I'm pretty sure these are all the ultra rares that are going to be in our international set as well. But yeah, exciting times because this is going to be the first set of a new block of cards. So we have the new Pokemon V, Pokemon VMAX, and it's kind of interesting to see how good these cards are actually going to be. So I did take a brief look at some of the cards. I think I found the link to this while PokeBeach was still doing translations. So some of the cards I haven't had a good look at, some I have. But by and large, it's still going to be my kind of knee-jerk reactions to some of these cards. And our more in-depth thoughts will be for our set review. But anyways, let's get into it and see what we're going to have here for Sword and Shield. So for a lot of Japan sets, they're broken into two different mini sets. We have Sword, then Shield, and so we're gonna start with Sword first. It appears. So we have Roserade, 30 Pokemon's act as poison, paralysis on a coin flip, nothing too special. Let's see, we have Maractus. So flip a coin for each energy on this Pokemon, 60 for each head. So there is, I will point out, there's like a Rillaboom in this set that accelerates grass energy, so you could potentially play that with this. Probably bad though. Though there's maybe an argument for it to be like a one of if a Rillaboom deck does potentially pop up. So we have our first Pokemon V. This one was unrevealed prior to the full set being revealed. So we have Dhelmise V, not the a Pokemon V I would have expected. I will say that, but 220 HP. It's a basic. 30. If any of your grass Pokemon were knocked out, 90 more. So it's just like standard revenge attack. That's fine, I guess. Then Giga Hammer, 200. Can't use Giga Hammer next turn. So not too special. Just for clarification too, if you guys are unaware, the Pokemon V, they're essentially like the old Pokemon EX, or I guess kind of like Pokemon GX. They don't have a GX attack, but they're just your normal two prize Pokemon that we're going to have in the Sword and Shield era. Card's not that great. We do have Rillaboom that can accelerate grass energy, so you can make a Rillaboom Dhelmise V deck if you want. 220 HP is honestly pretty decent for not being a tag team. Weakness to fire is kind of bad. The card overall, it seems kind of okay. Nothing groundbreaking. I mean, you can play it in the Rillaboom deck if you want to. But, yeah, nothing too special, I don't think. So here we have the Rillaboom line. Let's see if the pre-evolutions are any good. Nothing really special that I can see. So Rillaboom here has this ability. It's kind of like the old Vikavolt. You can search your deck for 2 grass energies, attach them to one of your Pokemon. So not quite as good as Vikavolt because you have to attach them just to one Pokemon. And but it is 2 grass energy, which is nice. So we can just get grass Pokemon powered up a little bit quicker this way. So we'll have to dig through the card pool and see what stuff like might want energy acceleration for grass right now. Maybe Venusaur and Snivy GX, or even like Venusaur Celebi, I guess, too, if you want to go that route. But Venusaur Snivy might be okay since it actually has a really good ability. It's just really hard to make use of it. So this might maybe enable Venusaur Snivy to be a bit more of an independent attacker of its own and not just be binder fodder or like a tech, as we've seen in a couple of lists recently with Venusaur Snivy. But yeah, I think its ability is solid. It's much like Vikavolt. This is really only going to be as good as the partners that it has for it. But nevertheless, you have to kind of keep your eyes peeled for this no matter what. I don't think you're going to have like a designated Rillaboom deck just because, you attack for 4 energy, not 2. If this was 3, maybe there's a consideration you could just attack with this guy on his own. But I think definitely he's going to want a partner Pokemon. I'm not sure if it exists. We'll have to go through the card pool, but definitely cool that we're getting some grass energy acceleration. So you have Salandit here and Salazzle. See, 20 in burn, discard 2 energy for 120. I mean, nothing special there. Especially, if you're a fire Pokemon in this day and age, you have to be really good to kind of cut through the noise here. So Salazzle's pretty bad. Set the Scorch. I'm actually really excited for this. This is one of my more favorite new Pokemon we got in Sword and Shield. I believe I did see this one already too. So Flame Spread, you discard a card from the top of your opponent's deck for every fire energy. So that's pretty good in a format where we have decent fire acceleration. So we can go Welder, Attach Fire for turn, Mill 3. So that seems kind of okay. Right now I'm thinking about, isn't there a Moltres that does the same thing on a basic? I forget. It's something like that, but it's cool we have like a milling attack. And then the second attack here, 110, your opponent's active is now burned. Pretty hefty attack cost. I really wish this was 3 energy. I've seen a reason why this shouldn't be 3. Just because you could go Welder Attach for 110 really isn't too unrealistic, especially when we have something like Reshizard that can hit 200 for 3 or even 230 for 4. Like, this is just a super underwhelming attack. Now you can use triple acceleration if you want to, but I think the first attack is the more interesting one. So I think if since Scorch ever sees play will be for that first attack, but I don't know, being on a stage 1 if just a Mill 3 is good enough. But we do have the Bellelba and Bryson Man that came out not too long ago, so maybe there's some consideration for it, but I think there's probably just stronger control options right now. Let's see, we have Kingler. So 40, discard 1 from top of your opponent's deck. Not bad. Then 90 plus 60 if your opponent's active has any damage counters on it. That's really not too bad. 150 for 3. Not too hard to get powered up either. It's probably just like not good enough though. I think that's just the issue. It's not that this attack is bad. There's just better attackers for the same energy cost. So nothing special. So Lapras VMAX, we already did get these revealed a couple days prior. We did a whole video on the VMAXs that got revealed. But let's take just a little refresher. So Lapras, Attach a Water, switch it, not bad for just like a pre-evolution. Then 210, return 2 water from your hand. Then Lapras VMAX, 90 plus 30 for every water energy attached to it. So this does have synergy with a new Pokemon that did get revealed in this set. I did see up to the water Pokemon, or I believe up to the lightning, I forget. But there is a new partner for this that's going to help us a lot. So 180 base damage if you fulfill the attack cost with water energy. But of course we can scale even above that, and that's where things get a little bit more interesting. So it's down a little bit further, but so up next we have Mantine. Search deck for 3 water energy. So they're pushing this as kind of like a starter maybe for the Lapras Frostmoth deck, because Frostmoth is the new Pokemon that pairs with it. I'm really not sure how good starter Pokemon are right now. If your name is not Jirachi, so probably not that good. So next up we have Inteleon. Drizzile does have an ability though. So let's take a look at this first. I actually really like the art on this thing too. It says whenever you play this from your hand, you may search your deck for 1 trainer card. Okay, so it's kind of like the Inteleon ability, but just a little bit weaker. But that's still really nice, especially if you're not evolving via rare candy. Having a really cool ability instead does kind of make worth missing your Inteleon for the turn. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Or if you have like 2 Sobble in play, you could manually evolve into this one. Search your deck for rare candy to grab the Inteleon. So maybe that's what you can do here. So Inteleon. So this is, again, all the starters got revealed prior to this whole reveal. But I remember really liking the ability here. It's kind of like a little Ninetales. So whenever you evolve into it, search your deck for 2 trainer cards. So that's really good. A little Ninetales saw heavy play during the Lost Thunder format. Unfortunately, tag teams and Jirachi being printed in the next set has kind of made it drop off ever since, unfortunately. But still, super strong ability, and Inteleon's just like a beat up version. Ninetales was only items. This time it's any trainers. We can grab supporters, we can grab stadiums, whatever it might be. So this is a super, super strong ability. I really like this a lot. Now, I'm just a little bit bummed out because of the attack here. I think it's just slightly underpowered. So Aqua Blow at 120. 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So 120 isn't the worst number in the world, but it just isn't going to two-shot things in this format, especially against a VMAX. Pokemon that have 300 to 340 HP. You really need, I think, to be hitting 150. I think that's really where you need to be. At the very least 140, because then the snipe damage can sometimes come into effect here and help set up your KOs for you. But I think 120 is just a little bit underpowered. And I think literally the difference in 20 damage could be the difference in this card not being a viable consideration. So yeah, really, really bummed about the damage output. So I'm not sure if we'll see this see play for its ability. It is a very strong ability, but just as a stage 2 that can only use this once when it gets played down, probably not going to see too much play. So up next we got Boltund. So interesting art. I feel like this looks kind of a... I feel like that doesn't look like Boltund. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's the ears or something, but I feel like just in the face and head, it doesn't quite look like how it does in the game. But anyways, stage 1, 130 HP. I am happy to see that stage 1s generally, and I guess all Pokemon across the board, other than like just basics, have started to get a little bit of an HP buff. So previously, like a stage 1, I think in like the Sun and Moon era, would maybe like kind of like this would only have maybe around 100, 110 HP. But this guy has 130, which is pretty nice. So first attack, 2 colors, 50. Your opponent's active can't retreat. That's nothing special. Then lightning, 2 colorless. If they are a V or GX, this does 90 more. So that's actually pretty cool. And I'm really happy they do specify GX on here as well. Much like in the Sun and Moon era, we had cards that would specify GX or EX. Now they are referencing V and GX. So they're always kind of referencing one ultra rare mechanic backwards to kind of make these cards more viable than they otherwise would be. Now, what I would like to see is instead of it specifying V or GX, I really wish they would start using the language, if your opponent's active gives up more prizes than you. I would like that because that would future-proof these cards a little bit better whenever they make additional like mechanics that give up more than one prize. But nevertheless, still cool that they are mentioning Pokemon GX here. 180, it's okay. Nothing too special. You can two-shot everything with this. You can actually get it powered up with Welder. As odd as that seems, like Welder and then some copies of Lightning Energy. So it's okay. I mean, I guess while you're Lightning, so you can technically hit bigger numbers with Electro Power. So I don't know. It's not the worst card we've looked at so far. It might be worth messing around with. But again, Lightning is just one of those types right now. Much like with 5, there's so many good Lightning Pokemon. You have to be really strong to think stand out amongst the crowd. But it's not terrible. So let's see, Pinsirchin, flip 4 coins, 30 for each head. So you flip 2 or more two or more heads, then your opponent's active is now paralyzed. Okay. So you have decent odds of paralysis. Your damage output's not going to be very good, but yeah, this card doesn't seem good. So next up we have Gengar. Let's check out the pre-evolutions. Ghastly, 20, return it to hand. Not really a big fan of returning it to hand. Let's see, Haunter, nothing special. Gengar. So Gengar, 110 HP. So I said that HPs were trending upwards, but Gengar is going in the opposite direction. This is actually really low. This is I think this actually might be the same amount of HP that the Stormfront Gengar had, like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Now, even longer than that. It's 2019 now. So, like, yeah, this HP is really bad. But see its ability. As often as you like, you may move a damage counter from one of your psychic Pokemon to another. Okay. So it's kind of like Reuniclus that we had back from Black and White. Not quite as good because it's limited to only psychic Pokemon. I'm not sure how much I like this, but with Pokemon V and VMAX entering the stage, this could be... It could be decent, just because they have so much HP. We might be turning towards like a 2-shot format potentially, and if that's the case, Gengar might have potential in the future. Right now, I really don't see the home for it. You're not playing this in like Mewtwo Mew. There's really just no need. It's stage 2, but it's a decent ability. I just don't see what deck really wants this right now. That's the issue. Attack also not very good. So up next, Wobbuffet V. So again, another Pokemon you would not expect to get a V. It's like one of the most random Pokemon. I guess that's fair to Wob. He's never gotten a GX or an EX, so or a level. Well, he did get a break, to be fair, but so this is really this is the only 2 prize Wob we've ever had. So 220 HP here, and you can see also the updated weaknesses and resistances for Psychic Pokemon, weak to Dark, resistant to Fighting here. So it looks like even the non-ghost Pokemon are going to be weak to Dark going forward because Dark or I'm sorry, poison got changed in the set from being in the ghost or psychic typing family to dark type. So I think that's why we have the change now. But anyways, so first attack, 2 colorless, switch all damage counters on this with your opponent's active. So it's like the damage change attack on the old Mewtwo EX back from Breakthrough. That's kind of cool. Having 220 HP is nice. We'll have to see how the format's going to turn, though. If it does turn into like a 2-shotting format, then Wobbuffet V could be good, because you could then just kind of deny these knockouts from your opponent. But I just don't think this card's very good right now, because most stuff is just going to nuke this. You know, Reshizard hits 230. Mewtwo Mew is going to hit this thing for weakness. Even without weakness, it plays usually copies of Reshizard or other attackers that can hit 220. You know, Pikarom can scale up to this. Doesn't seem very good. Its other attack, 70. Defending Pokemon can't retreat. Not very good. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Wobbuffet V. We might have to, like I said, just keep our eye on this card for the first attack, depending on how the meta tends to shift. But right now, I don't think this card's very good. So we have Sinistea and Poltegeist. Oh my god, Sinistea has 30 HP. It's 2019. We have basics with 30 HP. So it looks like Ghost Pokemon are getting the shaft in terms of HP. Gengar's HP is going down the toilet. We have a Sinistea with 30 HP. Jeez. Okay. Draw 2 cards isn't bad on a pre-evolution, but Jesus Christ, that's terrible. See, Poltegeist. 60 HP. Okay, now the good thing about this is that the whole line is Elm searchable. That is the one thing that we do have to say is kind of decent here. So, let's see. Has the same attack, both players draw 2, but then its other attack, 50 times the amount of trainer cards in your opponent's hand. Okay, so it's kind of like Gengar Mimikyu, but on a 1-prize Pokemon. That's actually really nice, because Gengar Mimikyu's attack is solid. Don't get me wrong here. But yeah, how do you play this? I mean, you can play it with Malamar, of course, if you want to go that route, I suppose. Now, so this is the same attack we had actually on Gengar back in the day for like the Curse Guard deck or whatever. Or I'm sorry, for Vilegar, where they would lock your item cards and then use this same style of attack to do large amounts of damage. If we had a good locking ability from the bench right now, that would be good. Like, we have Behemoth that can lock items, but that's an attack, so that's really not quite as strong. I mean, we do have Amistar, but I just don't know if we're going to get our bench low enough to be able to make use of that. I think Gengar Mimikyu is probably just better if you want to play Amistar. So I don't know if this thing has a good partner Pokemon, but I actually really do like this attack. I will actually keep my eye on this card. Just not sure where it's going to fit just yet. Let's see, we have Sudowoodo. Draw 2, then 10 times the amount of damage counters. Pretty bad. I mean, this is colorless, which is nice, but how are we getting 90 damage on a Sudowoodo? Like, just pretty bad. We have Claydol. See Psybeam, just 30 confusion, nothing special. The explosion 200, and this Pokemon takes 120. Not great. So we got Graplock. Kind of excited to see how they would handle this guy. He had a cool signature move in the video game. Okay, and actually has it too, Octolock. So 2 fighting energy. The attacks of your opponent's active require 2 more, and it can't retreat. And the effect lasts until this Pokemon is no longer active, and you can't apply more than one of these like attacks at a time, or like effects of this attack at a time. Okay, so that's interesting. I don't necessarily see how we're winning this way in terms of taking prizes, but maybe there's like some shenanigans we can do with, like, so this could be some sort of control archetype, maybe, as we do have ways to, like, we have a new supporter. It's a Team Yell card. It puts an energy from your opponent's active back into their hand. So maybe with that and like PAL pads and stuff like that, we can keep reusing that. But I just see that hard to... Yeah, you're going to run out of resources inevitably. You would need like Florges to keep recycling PAL pad. Like, you need the new Cinccino, Florges, and this. That seems kind of convoluted. But this actually could buy you a turn if you're trying to get set up. Its other attack is nothing special though, so I really like this first attack, but it's 2 fighting energy, and you don't really have a good offensive attack either. So there doesn't appear to be a reliable way to chain this over and over, and it's not really a decent stalling attack since your other attack isn't very great. This card's like, I think almost, it's like close to being cool, but just kind of shy of it, so kind of bummed about that. So Stonejourner V, this one got revealed ahead of time. 40, takes 20 less damage. Mega Kick does 150, nothing too special, but it did get a VMAX. This is something I was not expecting. So this shows we can actually have non-Gigantamax Pokemon as VMAX. That's something we hadn't seen up to this point. We previously only saw the Meowth, Lapras, and Snorlax. All those had Gigantamax forms, so it looked to be Gigantamax was going to be the only thing represented for VMAX, but that's not the case, which is interesting because it opens us up to more Pokemon getting VMAX cards, which is cool. But this is actually the first VMAX that has 2 attacks. Up until now, all the others have just had 1, so that's also very interesting to note. But 330 HP, huge. Gives up 3 prizes if you guys weren't familiar with the VMAX mechanic. Let's see. So for a fighting energy, attach a fighting from hand to one of your Pokemon, then heal 120 from that Pokemon. So that's actually pretty interesting. So one thing I mentioned actually in my VMAX reveal video, I just kind of briefly mentioned it, is the possibility for VMAX Pokemon to really abuse healing effects in a negative way. So when you have 330 HP, unless you're getting hit for weakness, nothing is really going to be one-shotting you in this day and age. There's just really not much that can. So, or something with like an unlimited damage cap, like Blacephalon as an example. But, generally speaking, you're going to survive a hit. And healing is just going to be so good with these types of Pokemon. So, Stonejourner is going to be one of those Pokemon. So, you can, you really don't mind, I think, even taking your time to get set up with this thing, because you get attacked, you attach for turn, heal 120, and just take your time getting set up that way. And so I think there's maybe an argument to be made to play this as like a more control oriented card, or just kind of take your time getting set up with all these healing mechanics, or healing options that Stonejourner will have. So yeah, I think this is actually one of the best attacks we've seen on VMAXs so far. The other one is fine, 200. You're going to 2-shot everything with this, and you really don't mind doing that, I think. So this is actually one of my more optimistic VMAX Pokemon we've looked at so far. I think Lapras got a little bit better with Frostmoth. Oh, and we haven't looked at Frostmoth yet. I think that it must be in the other set. Okay, so yeah, I like Stonejourner. He seems pretty decent. So going on to dark type Pokemon, you can see Poison is now dark, like I mentioned, and we have the Toxicroak line here. And okay, so 110 HP. If your opponent's act is Poison, you put 2 more damage counters on that Pokemon. Okay, so they take 3 for Poison. That's pretty good. It's like Virbank just built into an ability, and it's actually interesting. This stacks with Virbank and expanded based on the wording, because it's not 2 damage counters, it's 2 more. So you can actually, with this and what's the other card? The Seviper. Between Seviper, Virbank, and Toxicroak, you can actually scale your poison output to be really obnoxious, which is interesting. And then the attack 70 with poison on a coin flip. Attack is trash. Never going to use this. But the ability is worth keeping in mind. I'm not sure what in standard you would really want to play this with. Like we do have a Mungus, which can inflict poison, I believe it is. Or, yeah, sleep. Yeah, sleep and poison. So you could play it with that, but you're already probably playing Breloom if you're playing with the Mungus. So yeah, not really sure where this fits in standard or even expanded, but it's a cool ability though. It's one of those cards you have to kind of just keep in mind, I think. Let's see, we have Thievul. Really excited to see this Pokemon get represented. One of my more favorites that we got in the Sword and Shield game. One of the better new Pokemon designs. Let's see, so 100 HP, 20 for 1. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose a card you find there. Your opponent shuffles that card. Or no, they put that card on the bottom of their deck. So if this was discard, I would maybe consider playing this, but I don't think this is a very strong form of control that we have here. I think generally speaking, if you're playing a control Pokemon, you'd rather play something like a Rangaroo or like Dollstall or something like that. So I really don't think this is a viable control card, and it's a shame too because the attack here, the second effect or the second attack isn't that great either. So I was going to say you could maybe just use this attack to buy yourself a turn while you're setting up your next one, but the other attack isn't very good either. So Thievul's probably just bulk. So next we have Galarian Meowth, and we have Galarian Berserker. Now this is very interesting because it's called Galarian Berserker, implying that there's forms other than just the Galarian one. So because you don't see them have Kantoian Persian as an example, it should just be called Berserker. Like I don't see why they had to specify that. I mean, that's kind of good though, is in terms of it does make it a better card because you can then, like, if we have cards akin to like Aether Paradise Employee, I think it was called, come out for Galarian Pokemon that like specify Galarian Pokemon that will help a card like this. But it just thematically, I think, doesn't make sense. But let's see this thing. 120 HP. The attacks of your metal Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. Okay, so it's kind of like Altaria, Lurantis, etc. that we've had in the past. And actually, this could be really good for Zacian, I believe is the sword one. Just because Zacian hits like pretty decent damage, but not quite enough to knock out tag teams. And this actually can be the difference. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. I've historically messed around with these plus 20 Pokemon. Not to toot my own horn too much, but I helped popularize the Sceptile GX deck back in the Lost Thunder format, and it played the Lurantis that had this effect. I'm no stranger to the Altaria. We actually have a video going up this week. I'm not sure if it's up when you'll see this or not, but it will be up in the same week, that has a deck that plays the Altaria and expanded. So historically, I've been a big fan of these abilities, and I'm definitely excited to mess around with this one as well. The attack, not too great, though. Next up, we have Ferrothorn. Nothing too special here. The second attack is kind of okay. 100, then you can move all of the energy to a bench Pokemon. So you can just keep cycling this energy in play every time one of your Ferrothorns gets knocked out. That's like kind of okay. 100 damage is just pretty weak. If this was like maybe 140, or well, I guess you could play Galarian Berserker if you want, but yeah, if this was a more substantial amount of damage, if we get two-shot VMAX Pokemon, I think there would be consideration to this because there is a new item that will accelerate metal energy as well. So as soon as you get 3 energy in play, it just kind of stays in play. So next up we have Galarian Stunfisk. Alright, so 120 HP ability. If this Pokemon takes damage, discard energy from your opponent's active. Okay, I actually do kind of like that. And 30, flip till you get tails. Okay, so the attack not too great, but the ability is interesting. Maybe there's a consideration for... So this could be a potential like Behemoth target potentially, since we are getting a new tool that will let you retreat to retreat Pokemon, or maybe consideration for like Hitmonchan decks or something like that. I really don't hate this ability, especially since we do have Crushing Hammer still in the format. Probably, I mean, it's like on the lower end in terms of the wall Pokemon we have, but nevertheless, I do actually kind of like this ability here. Not sure where it fits in though. So next up we got Corviknight. Awesome. 170 HP. Now that's what I'm talking about on a stage 2. Never mind the 110 we saw in Gengar. This is I'm really hoping this is kind of the standard going forward for stage 2 Pokemon, like them having the same amount of HP as like basic Pokemon GX. So this is a good indication of how things are trending at least. So let's see. Peck, 50 damage for 1. That's okay. Then Iron Wings, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. If you do, this Pokemon takes 100 less damage. That's actually very interesting. I have to say, I really like this attack. because we have triple acceleration energy, so that fulfills the discard to effect. We also have the new metal patch, or whatever it's called, in this set that will allow us to recycle metal energy. So this is really cool. You effectively have a 270 HP one prize attacker. I really like this. Now, the damage output, unfortunately, is a little bit lower than I would like. I wish this was 150, because that would then make two-shotting VMAXs a little bit more viable. But even still, if you have to three-shot a VMAX and they two-shot you, you're still coming out ahead in the prize exchange. So maybe it's actually not a big deal. But this actually seems cool. I do like this. I want to mess around with this. And we have Frying Pan, so you can actually effectively have 300 HP, which is wild. So yeah, I actually am a fan of this attack here. I do want to try this out. It's a stage 2. That's going to be the big issue with it, but I actually think getting this thing powered up won't be an issue in the new format. So next up we have Zacian. This is actually one of the better, I think, Pokemon V we've seen up until this point. They haven't been very good, which actually I'm really excited about, to be honest. But Zacian V, 220 HP, has Intrepid Sword. Once during your turn, you may look at top 3 cards of your deck. Pay number of metal energy you find there onto this Pokemon. Put the other cards in your hand. If you use this ability, your turn ends. And then 3 metal, 230, you can't attack. So I think this card has some downsides. Of course, you have to end your turn with this ability, but this is a really good ability. At worst, it's a draw 3, end your turn, especially if you're going first or if you whiff the energy you need to get off your attack. Then this is a fantastic ability at the end of the turn with. That's really, really good. And at best, you're going to get 1, maybe 2 metal energies. I don't think you're going to get more than 1, though, off of 3 cards, unless you build like to where you're playing 20 metal energy or something crazy like that. But yeah, I love this ability. In 230, we saw this attack previously in this past week get revealed. In 230, it's fine. Doesn't one-shot anything, but with Galarian Meowth, we can actually creep up a little higher. 2 Galarian Meowth, we're going to be hitting 270. That's excluding any other damage modifiers. One thing that's nice, Shrine actually doesn't affect us, so if Pokemon GX are still popular, once Sword and Shield comes out, Shrine can still get you above that without taking damage yourself, which is really cool. And then we have Metal Patch, or Metal Saucer, I think it translates to get energy on this thing. So I actually really like this. I think this is one of the best Pokemon V that we have in the set. Yeah, I like this card. No complaints from me. So next we have Cinchinos, another card that did get revealed last week. Had a lot of people talking because it has the ability, it says Thrifty, but let's not kid ourselves. This is trade that we've come to know and love from, or maybe hate, on Zoroark GX. So once during your turn, you can discard a card from your hand, draw 2. So yeah, this is just trade from Zoroark, or if you really want to go back further, this is Diving Draw on Empoleon back from Dark Explorers, for the OGs out there who remember. But then it has an attack, colorless 40, attach a basic from discard to one of your bench Pokemon. So this attack is not Riot Speeding. It's pretty clear this is nowhere near as good as that. Nevertheless, this ability is still really, really good. We saw a lot of decks like the Zora Control deck see play and not even really attack with Zoroark. Yeah, they could, and they did sometimes if they had to, but by and large, they just used trade to cycle through their deck as quickly as possible. So Cinchino, really, really good. I also think this is good for, depending on the types of archetypes that pop up, this could be a good stall tech. Like if you're a deck that plays Ditto already, and you have like a bad stall matchup for like them running out of energy and stuff like that, Cinchino could be a good one of, just in general, to also make use of this good ability. So I think if you're a Ditto based deck, you're already going to kind of eye down Cinchino already, just because this ability is just so good, and it only gives up 1 prize, which is really nice as well. Now the big downside to this in standard is you can't get this off Elm, whereas you can get Pidgeotto. So maybe in the short term we might still see Pidgeotto, but at the same time we're getting Quick Ball in the set, so that might change, guys. It's hard to say which is going to come out on top, but yeah, this ability, it's still trade, it's still a fantastic ability, and I'm definitely a fan of this card. Again, not really sure what deck I'm playing this in right away, but nevertheless, I do like this card. So we have the Corviknight pre-evolutions, nothing special here. So we have Cramorant V. I actually have to say, like, out of all the generic bird Pokemon we get every gen, I've actually been a big fan of Cramorant. I think it's one of the more nicely designed new Pokemon. I generally do not like most of the new Sword and Shield Pokemon. And I'm generally not one of like the Gen 1ers who hates everything after Gens 1 and 2. Generally speaking, I hate like a good half of the new Sword and Shield Pokemon, but think Cramorant's actually a perfectly fine, acceptably designed Pokemon here. But anyways, getting back to the actual card, 200 HP, basic Pokemon. First attack, search your deck for 2 cards. Not bad. Not playing Cramorant for that though. And then discard all energy, does 160 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That's actually really good. So colors means we can power this up any deck, Malamar, any Welder based deck, and we can snipe the Denes. That's huge. So I think if we see this see play, this could be just as a means of one-shotting the Denes. So if you're playing Malamar, consider playing Cramorant. Or again, if you're a Welder based deck, consider playing this. This is very splashable. And I think this could see play as a one-of, literally just for its ability to snipe Denes. I think this does a very effective job of that. And so, you know, it's a big thing we see is just people taking their last KO with a great catcher or custom catcher or via a sniping attack like Tag Bolt or Venom Shot to just snipe a Dedenne and close out their game that way. So this is just another method of doing that. So it's a shame that this isn't a GX, otherwise Mewtwo Mew could have used this pretty effectively. But yeah, I still actually like this card, and this is definitely going to be a one of I'm going to be considering in decks that have energy acceleration. So all the Pokemon for the first set, oh my god, we have a lot of cards to look at, it appears. I forgot we have 2 sets, but we've already gone on a good bit in this video. That's fine though. Evolution Incense, we've seen this card already. Search your deck for an evolution, put it into your hand. I think it's kind of like an upgraded version of Evo Soda in a lot of cases, because we can just get the Pokemon to our hand instead of directly evolving into it. But this is definitely going to be welcome. We can search out Pokemon VMAX with this as well, as far as I understand. But just in general, this is also going to be good for one prize decks right now that don't have very good searching options. That is one thing that the Sword and Shield set does look to give us, actually, is good searching options. We've really been needing them since the rotation happened after losing Nest Ball. Just making do with communication is pretty bad in most decks, unless you're a deck that also has Treasure or Netball or something like that. So it's just another card to kind of consider going forward. We have Hyper Potion. Discard 2 energy from 1 Pokemon, heal 120. Okay, so that's just like a Super Potion that's twice as good, literally. So this is fine. We don't have Max Potion in the current format. So if you are a Welder-based deck, I think there is merit to maybe playing Hyper Potion. Or even like the new Stone Journer. Like if your opponent swings on you and does like 300 and you're like on the cusp of death, you can go Hyper Potion and use its attack to heal off the vast majority of its damage, which is kind of cool. So yeah, this is going to be a card I'm kind of worried about because, like I mentioned, I'm kind of worried about VMAX Pokemon potentially abusing healing cards just because they have so much HP. You can maybe get to a point where it becomes very difficult for your opponent to actually take knockouts on you while you're damaging them back. So especially if you're a deck that has energy acceleration and you're a VMAX, you know, Hyper Potion can definitely be an option to look at. So we don't have Max Potion in the format, so this is like really one of the next best options I think we'll have to consider going forward. So Fishing Rod is another card that did get revealed ahead of time. So you shuffle 2 Pokemon, 2 basic energies from your discard back into your deck. Really excited for this card. You know, it's not Super Rod, unfortunately. It's not Rescue Stretcher, unfortunately. But this is probably the best recovery option that we have. You know, Brock's Grit is a supporter. It's a really strong effect, but it's a supporter. It's really hard to find turns where you can actually take a turn off and play it. Outside of very highly specific decks. Lana's Fishing Rod is okay in certain decks. Like Malamar, I think it's fine in just because you have tools you do want to get back. But if you're a deck that doesn't have really tools you want to get back and you're like a one prize deck, there's really not great recovery options. I think up until now, my go-to strategy's been playing a Ditto and 1 copy of Lana's Fishing Rod or 1 copy of Lure Ball to act as like your 5th evolution. So think of like the Tangrowth deck that we covered on the channel not too long ago. That's a good example. Play 1 Ditto, 1 Fishing Rod, and you effectively have 5 outs to a Tangrowth. And Fishing Rod is going to make these types of things easier for these types of one prize decks. So I'm a big fan of this. If it's not super odd, this is literally the next best thing. So I'm happy to see this card come into the format. We've needed some better recovery ever since we lost Rescue Stretcher. So next up we have Rotom Bike. This is another one of the cards that got revealed early on, or actually I guess technically it got leaked early on. Credits to PTCG Radio for bringing about this card, or telling us about this ahead of time. But it's an item, draw until you have 6 and your turn ends. So one thing that's important to note in the Sword and Shield era, the player who goes first cannot play any supporter cards. So you really can't get set up through traditional methods. So Rotom Bike, on the other hand, it will still let you draw cards on the first turn. And this is a pretty decent effect. However, the issue that I have with this card is that it doesn't help you get set up, though. What I mean by that is, yes, you're going to draw until you have 6, but you can't play any of the cards. So even though, yes, you can play this turn 1, it doesn't actually help you get set up like a supporter would. So I'm really not a big fan of this. I think the effect is good. But I'm just not a huge fan of this. Now, however, if we do see a deck that pops up that doesn't actually attack, so think of something like the really old Chandelure Vileplume deck back from the late 2011 format as an example. It literally never did damage, ever. Well, I shouldn't say never attacked, not once in the whole game. Usually, I think maybe they had an attack with a Litwick they could use, but once they evolved, they never attacked. And they would end their turn every turn by using Tropical Beach. This kind of fills a similar role. If we have a deck like that, maybe a stall deck as an example, I think you could play this, but for most decks, don't get this misconstrued. This is not a replacement for a first turn supporter because you are not actually going to be able to get set up with this card. So I'm not a big fan of it outside of control style decks, really, that I can see for the moment. Or if we maybe see Volcarona start to do well, or not start to do well, but maybe this could give Volcarona a boost and you just kind of snipe a bunch of damage with Volcarona while using this to end your turn some turns. I don't know. Like I said, I'm struggling to kind of figure out where this is best at. So we have Giant Charm. Let's see. Pokemon gets plus 30 HP. So that's cool, I guess. And that will actually matter in a lot of instances, throwing off the math for certain things. Especially on VMAX Pokemon, they can abuse this as well, which is interesting. So now Snorlax VMAX can have 370 HP. So this seems really obnoxious for VMAXs. But just in general, this seems like a solid card. Especially right now, we're in a one-shot format. If we continue to be in a one-shot format like this, Giant Charm is going to be pretty decent. So really not sure the deck that this goes in immediately. You just kind of have to keep your eyes peeled and look at what are the common damages or the common damage output that we're seeing in the game. And if this throws off that damage for a specific archetype that you're probably going to run it into, then this could be good. So I think this is a perfectly fine tool, especially since we don't have something like Choice Band that is just the go-to tool in every deck right now. I think a card like this has a chance to potentially shine. So next up we have Air Balloon. Let's see. So this is another tool. And your retreat cost is 2 less. Really excited about this card because right now the only tools kind of like this we have our Skateboard and U-turn board. And while Skateboard sees rampant play in decks with Jirachi for good reason, we really don't have a good general retreating tool like Floatstone. In the current format, U-turn board's kind of okay, but most decks aren't going to play U-turn board. Being able to have a 2 retreat is much, much better. And the reason for that is because now we suddenly have hit and run style decks as a much more viable type of deck. So think of Behemoth as an example. Right now, our go-to walls we have are going to be Clefairy, and then the 1 retreat Pokemon in the format like Gumi as an example, or a Alolan Ninetales, because they have a 1 retreat cost, and that's the only thing U-turn board will allow us to retreat with. However, decks like that now gain a whole host of new potential wall Pokemon, because now they can throw something up like a Keldeo GX as an example, and now they can retreat for free with it. That's huge. That's something that these, I think, hit and run style decks have really been wanting for a little bit. So Air Balloon, really excited for this, and also just generally better than U-turn board in most decks. So Big fan of the Air Balloon. I definitely think this card will see play. So we have Lumberry. Let's see. At the end of any turn, if this Pokemon is affected by a special condition, remove all of them and discard this card. Okay. So nothing too special. Cards like Full Heal traditionally haven't seen much play. Even the old Audino that removes special conditions, I mainly saw play in like Flareon, just as like a discard Pokemon. So yeah, I don't know how good this is going to be. You'll have to just kind of read the meta, but special conditions really aren't too impactful right now. So I don't think it's probably going to see too much play. Again, unless a special condition deck does emerge, this could be a decent tech, but most of the time, special conditions right now aren't very good. Professor's Research, we already saw this. Discard your hand, draw 7. Interesting, they are printing this as a holo rare, so this is going to be a hard card to get your hands on, probably, unless they do nerf it and make it an uncommon, which could happen because I believe there is a non-holo version of this in one of Japanese starter decks, and much like with Cynthia was a holo rare in their set, but since it had a starter deck version, they did make it, there was precedent to make it an uncommon in our set, so we could see the same thing with Professor's Research here. If this is a holo rare, this is going to be an expensive card. Discard your hand, draw 7. I really don't need to talk about this. We've had this effect for many formats. Super good. Really happy, however, this is called Professor's Research, and I am sad because there are no other Professor's Research cards in the set. I did check on that, but I would imagine going forward we will have other Professor's Research cards with different effects, because this is Professor's Research with Professor Magnolia kind of in parentheses here. So at least for the moment, we only have one research card, but I imagine we'll be getting others going forward, which I am excited about. So next up we have Bede or Beede or Bede. I still don't know how you pronounce this guy. I'm going to go with Bede though, just for the moment. Feel free to correct me in the comments if if you think I butchered this too much. But supporter, attach a basic energy from hand to one of your bench Pokemon. So this is interesting. It's a generic form of energy acceleration, which is fine, but it's a supporter though. That's like really the big issue here, I think. So if you're playing this, honestly, I think you need to be playing something that has a strong draw engine that's not a supporter. So think of something like Silvally GX or like the new Cinccino we looked at. You need some other way to still draw cards in a turn if you're not playing a draw supporter. Or maybe something like a very heavy Dedenne count. So yeah, I'm really just not sure what deck really wants this right now. But nevertheless though, guys, I mean, it is energy acceleration for any type. So it's something you always kind of have to keep an eye out for. And another thing too, I will mention in terms of its viability is you have to be playing this in a deck that runs a large amount of physical energies. Or something, or be like a fire type as an example. Where you can use Giant Hearth. Because you do need the energy in hand. And if you're only a deck that plays like 8 or 9 energies, it's going to be hard to draw into them when you need them. So, yeah, this seems like you need a lot of deck space to make this work, because you're going to need a large amount of physical energies in your deck. Or maybe you're playing Viridian Forest as your stadium of choice, I don't know. And you're also going to need some other non-draw supporter based form of draw. And that's in addition to all of your attackers. So I'm not sure how much I like this card, but it's something to keep in mind as time goes on. Okay, so we finally got through the first half of this first impressions video. Normally these videos are not this long, but we do have a lot of cards to go over, guys, so bear with me here. So going on to Shield, we have the Orbeetle evolution line. Grass type is cool. We can abuse Netball, but let's see this thing. I really do like the art on this thing too. So 130 HP, one of the weaker stage 2s we've seen so far. But once you return, you may look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, put them back in any order. So that's actually a really cool ability. It's basically Chip Ice Axe, but as an ability. Then it's attack, Grass Colorist, 90 plus 30 for every Psychic attached to this Pokemon. That's really odd. I'm really not a big fan of this card, I have to say. Your damage output's pretty bad. And you have to have Psychic Energy for it, and the ability. Like, the ability is actually decent, but if you're trying to manipulate your opponent's top deck, the Oranguru deck, like Pidgeotto control deck, already does that. You already have things like Stamp, Chip Ice Axe, Mars, etc. I think that's going to be a much more consistent way of pulling off that combo than playing a stage 2. See, we have Eldegoss. Ooh, and Gossifleur actually has Call for Family, which is really nice. Search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. That's really, really good. So, if you ever have an Eldegoss you want to play, this is definitely the one to go for. So, let's see here. Search your deck for 3 Grass Energy. Attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. Okay, yeah, this thing is not very good. This type of attack wouldn't be bad on a basic, but stage 1, no. We're good. We already have the Rillaboom coming out in the same set, which can also accelerate energy as an ability. Granted, it's only 2, but it's not an attack. So I think we would much prefer just to play Rillaboom. So our next Pokemon V, we have Torkoal. Another Pokemon, again, you would not expect to see as a Pokemon V, but that's kind of cool. We have a million legendaries and Charizards and things like that represented as ultra rare. So it is kind of cool. We are getting to see some more underrated or I don't know the term I'm looking for. I guess just underrated Pokemon get good representation in the TCG. So we have Torkoal. Let's see, 210 HP, 4 retreat cost. That's actually pretty good. So we can use buff padding, Pokemaniac if we want to. But let's see, 90. Discard the top card of your deck. If it's a fire energy, its attack does 90 more damage. I mean, 180 for 3 isn't too bad. But again, if you're fire, you have to be really good in order to see play. I think most time Heatran is just going to be probably a little bit better than this. Just because it hits for a similar amount of damage, and also it has a good ability and a good GX attack as well. So I'm not crazy about this first attack. Let's see. Next attack, 120. Discard 2 energy from your opponent's active. That's actually not too terrible though. 120, I think at a glance seems bad, but don't discount how good discarding 2 energies is. Because if you're swinging on your opponent, you're forcing them to keep committing resources to a damaged Pokemon already. So I actually kind of do like this second attack. It's just a shame it's 4 energy. I really wish this was 3 energy. If that was the case, we'd be in business. I would actually probably consider playing Torkoal, but needing that 4th energy, that's kind of a tough sell, I have to say. Granted, we do have counter gains, so like, I don't know. Not a big fan of this overall, though. So next up we have Cinderace. This is another Pokemon that got revealed ahead of time, and I am stoked on this. I mean, you guys know me. I love, like, to be honest, like, tier 2, stage 2 one prize decks, and Cinderace is another one that might fall into that category, but I do like this card a lot. But I did just realize Score Bunny has 30 for 1. That's actually really good on just a pre-evolution. But anyways, so here we have Cinderace. This did get revealed ahead of time. It's probably my favorite out of all of the Galarian starters. But 170 HP, really solid for a 1 prize stage 2 Pokemon. But its ability, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active spot, you may attach up to 2 fire energy from discard to this Pokemon. And its attack, 3 fire, 190, discard 2. Not an issue. We have Welder if we want to power this thing up. Even the ability just kind of powers itself up, which is nice. But also, too, think of what's the best Pokemon to have in your active spot to then retreat from. And we have Jirachi. So you have Jirachi. Every time a Cinderace gets knocked out, you promote Jirachi. And you can evolve into a Cinderace, move to the active, get your energy back onto a fresh Cinderace, keep attacking. And 190 is actually a substantial amount of damage because we two-shot basically anything in the format. So I have to say, I am actually a fan of Cinderace here. This is definitely going to be one of those cards I'm going to test out. And, I think it's actually one of the better 1 prize Pokemon we've looked at so far out of this set, too. So, yeah, I do like this card. I definitely want to experiment with this. So you have Seeking. Flip through coins for each head's discard energy. I'm good. Quillfish. If this Pokemon is your active, damaged by an attack, they're poisoned. 10 plus 60. Nope. So we have Dreadnought. 130 HP. I actually kind of expected this to be a little tankier because, we've seen other things like Boltund have the same amount of HP, and I generally perceive Dreadnought to be like a tankier Pokemon. So kind of odd it only has 130, but still decent for a stage 1. 60 plus 30 for each colorless in your opponent's actives retreat cost, okay. And 1/3 of your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat. So This is actually very similar to the Tangrowth, but it actually is a good bit stronger. Tangrowth is 10 plus 30. This is 60 plus 30. But Tangrowth is only one single energy, whereas this is three, which is a lot worse. So I think I'm probably still going to play Tangrowth if I want to play something like this, because you need Absols, Dreadnought, and a way to accelerate energy. So probably the new Frostmoth in addition to all of this. This just seems kind of clunky, I think. I'm not a huge fan of this. Like I said, I think I'm going to play Tangrowth if I do want to go for this type of strategy. So next up we have Frostmoth. I think it's definitely one of the best cards that we're probably getting in this set. Definitely in terms of energy acceleration. So it's a stage 1, 90 HP, very, very weak, but it has a very good ability. It has Ice Dance. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a water energy from hand to one of your benched water Pokemon. This is basically Deluge on Blastoise, but only for water Pokemon and only for water Pokemon on your bench. So it's a little bit more limited, which is fair since it's a stage 1. It's easier to get in play. But obviously, guys, you know, we pair this with Lapras VMAX. That's the big thing. Lapras VMAX has an unlimited damage cap, and we can just dump a mountain of energy onto it with Frostmoth and start one-shotting stuff. But also, there's other things, too, that I think have struggled for energy acceleration. Think of Keldeo, GX Keldeo V, that we're also going to get in the international set. Even Blastoise Piplup. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential partners for this. But, of course, in this set, you can see what they're pushing. They're pushing for this and Lapras VMAX to be kind of the pair we're going to get. So, yeah, this definitely seems like it'll be a good card. We have Lantern, 90. If they have an energy, they're paralyzed. Nope. So they have Morpeko and Morpeko VMAX. So Morpeko V, 20. In 2020, your opponent's Pokemon. That's nothing too special. Then 150 discard energy. Then switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Nothing too special, but it does evolve into Morpeko VMAX here. So 300 HP. Lightning Colors 180 does 20 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. 180 is decent because we're going to two-shot everything, so that's actually really not terrible. But again, much like with Fire, Lightning's one of those types where we have things like Pikarom, we have Raichu, Alolan Raichu, we have a host of really good solid Lightning Pokemon already. You have to be really good, I think, to cut through all of that and for people to go with you instead. And this being an evolution, I don't think is worth it. If you're going to two-shot things, I think you'd rather just go for Pikarom here instead. So next up we have Galarian Ponyta. I know my girlfriend's going to be excited about this. She loves Ponyta and Rapidash, so I'm excited to show this card to her. But yeah, Galarian Rapidash, let's see, 100 HP. Each of your Pokemon can't be affected by special conditions. Remove any special conditions affecting this Pokemon. Not too great. Unfortunately, special conditions aren't very good in the current format. Then we have Psychic, 30 plus 30 for every energy attached to your opponent's active. Yeah, unfortunately, Rapidash, probably not very good. Rapidash always kind of gets the shaft. I really don't know the last good Rapidash we've had, if we've ever had one. So, if nothing else, Galarian Rapidash is going to continue the quality bar set by other Rapidashes. So, yeah, not a great card, unfortunately. So we have Muna and Bisharna. Let's see. Your opponent's asleep. They flip 2 coins to wake up. Then 10 plus 120 if your Pokemon's active is asleep. Man, I really wish this attack was just a single Psychic Energy, because then you could actually have some good type coverage in like the Breloom deck as an example, where you could put your opponent asleep with the Amoonguss, and you have your Breloom if you want to hit for fighting weakness. You would have Musharna if you want to hit for psychic weakness. So I really wish this was just like one single energy. The fact that it's 2 basically means this card probably won't be very good. So next up we have Indeedee V, another new Sword and Shield Pokemon. Let's see its ability. Once during a turn, heal 20 from your active. It's nice this doesn't have to be your active to heal, so that is relevant. And this does stack as well, is worth pointing out. Then Psychic 10 plus 60 more. So Psychic actually does scale pretty well, especially if you're going at something like a Lapras VMAX and they just dump like a ton of energy onto them. Psychic can hit for some pretty insane damage. So if they have 5 energy, you're going to be hitting 310. It's pretty good. So yeah, this could be like kind of a check to maybe a deck like that just dumps a lot of energy onto their active. You can play to Malamar if you choose to. So it's like not a groundbreaking card, but it's one of those ones you have to like kind of keep your eye on, especially in the context of Malamar, to see what's popular in the metagame and choose your like host of toolbox attackers kind of according to that. Hitmonlee, 80 plus 80 of Hitmonchan's on your bench. That's a terrible attack cost. Then 20 plus 20 more if Hitmonlee is on your bench. Nothing special. So we have Rhyperior. 190 HP, pretty tanky indeed. I think one of the last Rhyperiors we got had like 170 HP, I think, something like that. So Rhyperior is getting even tankier than that, 190 now. I really do like that on these one prize Pokemon. So 90 goes through resistance, and then 120. The 60 to each bench Pokemon with damage counters on it, both yours and your opponent's. Okay, now this attack cost is just so bad though. Like, why would they do this to us? Now, granted, with Karate Belt, triple acceleration, and a fighting energy, we can get this thing powered up. But geez, this is just an obnoxious attack cost. If this was like fighting in triple, or like fighting DCE, we might be in business, because then you could go like weld or attach fighting as an example. So, Rhyperior, pretty bad. Let's see, we have Sandaconda. 10, and then you do 120 more next turn. Nope. Galarian Zigzagoon. We had this revealed a couple days ago. Really big fan of this ability, though. It's like the old Crobat G. Whenever you bench it, put 1 damage counter on your opponent's Pokemon, or one of their Pokemon. That's really cool. I liked it a good bit. Now, granted, this is not like Crobat G. It doesn't have, I believe Crobat G had free retreat, but it also doesn't have all the like SP support and everything that had. So this is still a really good pre-evolution, but this is probably not as impactful as Crobat G was. But 10 damage is relevant sometimes in terms of being the difference of taking a knockout and not taking a knockout. So think of like Reshiram Zekrom right now. Hasn't seen the breakout success that a lot of people thought it would, myself included actually. One of the big reasons, it hits 270, not 280, so you can't one-shot ADP. And so Galarian Zigzagoon will make the difference in that regard. So 10 damage does matter, and if it does matter, you could see this pop up maybe just as a searchable form of 10 damage. So we have Galarian Linoone, and then Galarian Obstagoon. So Obstagoon, 160 HP, and whenever you evolve, put 3 damage counters. Okay, so that's kind of cool. They skipped the middle evolution doing damage. Historically, the Golbat back on the Crobat line did damage. Also, the Frogadier on Greninja GX did this, but instead they opted for an ability on the basic, which I'm fine with as well. So 3 damage counters, that's fine, I suppose. 2 for 90. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's basic Pokemon. Okay. I actually do like this. So, and that's primarily because of the wording on Obstagoon. If this was like, during your opponent's next turn, if your opponent's active as a basic, they can't do damage, that wouldn't be good, because then they could just retreat or switch, Malwin, Lana, whatever it might be. But the fact that it puts the effect on you and not your opponent is really, really good. So 90, not a whole lot of damage, but against, unless your opponent is playing like Keldeo GX or something like that, they're probably not going to have a great way at getting through this, I would have to say. I think Reshizard's one of the only other things that can really get through something like this. So I actually do like this attack, even though the damage output is pretty bad. There are ways to get this thing powered up in a single turn. We have things like Tapu Koko Prism Star, Counter Gain. So more than likely, you're a stage 2, you're going to go behind on prizes early anyway, so Counter Gain might be a decent way to get this thing powered up. And just walling with 90 every turn doesn't seem that terrible. Really, you'll have to just look at what is popular in the meta and see if this has a way to wall against all those, but I actually really don't hate this card, despite its damage output being on the lower side. And another thing to point out too, as you guys can see, Dark Pokemon have had their weakness changed to grass here. I guess to accommodate some of the type changes that have been going on in the TCG. Next up, we have Sableye V. I have to say, this artwork looks insane. I think this actually might be one of the best artworks that we got in the set. Really a big fan of this. Actually, for this artist in particular, I'm usually not a big fan of their style. Their stuff usually looks like very, like even by 3D art standards, I feel like it usually looks very plasticky and overly shiny. But since this is a Sableye, I think this is like the perfect card for them to do. But anyways, that's totally a different subject altogether. But Sableye V, let's see this thing. 170 HP. Put a trainer from your discard into your hand. Okay, that's pretty good. Dark, 10 plus 60 for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Okay, trying to think how I feel about this. So this could be a decent one of in Dark Box potentially. I mean, it's a pretty good starter in general. Or Search is a solid attack. Get any trainer card from your discard back into your hand. So I'm doubtful if we'll see like a Sableye V control deck or anything like that, but nevertheless, this is a pretty decent first attack. But 10 plus 60 is nice, especially if you are Dark Box and maybe you sniped 60 damage with your Darkrai Umbreon. You can come in with a 2-prizer and take a knockout instead for only 2 energy. So I actually kind of do like this second attack, or if we do find a way to get a good bit of damage in play and get this thing powered up on its own, maybe you could build around this. But right now, I think maybe the best home would maybe be just as a one of in Dark Box. So yeah, so this actually can one-shot tag teams, or not tag teams, but oh wait, no, because Umbreon Darkrai only hits bench damage on GXs, so this wouldn't be able to one-shot VMAX. Okay, so my interest is starting to dwindle a little bit here, but it's an okay card against other tag teams and GXs in the context of Dark Box. So let's see. Drapion. Terrible as always, it appears. Let's see, we have Mawile. Search your deck for a Pokemon, not great. And then Crunch, 40 discard energy, nothing great. We have Bisharp. 30 plus 30 more for each Pawniard on your bench. Nothing too good there. If you evolve from Ditto, you're hitting 150, I guess. It's not terrible, but that seems like it's going to be hard to kind of build around. I mean, once they knock out your Bisharp with a Ditto too, you're only going to be capped at 120. Yeah, it doesn't seem very good, but this is 1 energy, so maybe there is I don't know, maybe there is a world where you can attempt to build around this. We did just get Fishing Rod in this set, so you know, that's something to consider, I guess, at the very least. So we have Copperaja, 190 HP. Now that is a thick stage 1. So this is just as much HP as even like the Rhyperior we just looked at. So yeah, Copperaja is super tanky. Let's see. Metal 60, heal 30. Not very good. Let's see. Mighty Trunk, 3 metal. If this Pokemon has 8 or more damage counters on it, its attack does nothing. Ooh, that is not too good. But actually, if we're in a one-shot format, that's really not that bad, actually. Like, if you're going to do 220, just get one-shotted back, I really can't say I hate that. We also have Galarian Berserker if you want to boost the damage output a little bit more. So I honestly don't hate this that much. Because again, guys, you have to remember we do have the Metal Saucer to get metal energies into play. So yeah, that's I don't know, it might just kind of be a gimmick, but if we are still going to be in a one-shot format, I could see this attack actually being kind of decent here, since you only give up 1 prize. So next we have Zamazenta V, another card that got revealed a little bit ahead of time. So the ability prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's VMAX. That's actually really good if these VMAX Pokemon do start to take off. So I imagine you can probably play this with the Zacian that we already looked at, maybe just as like a 1, maybe a 2 of, just for those VMAX decks. And then Assault Tackle, 2 metal, Colorless does 130, discard a special energy from your opponent's active. Unfortunately, we don't have like many energies, special energies that are just seeing rampant play. Some of the ADP decks do play special energy. Also, some of the Mewtwo Mew decks do play special energy as well. So Assault Tackle's okay against those, but by and large, this is primarily, I think, good for the ability here. The attack outside of VMAX matchups, nothing too special. I think Zacian's just generally better, but nevertheless, I think this is a solid card as well. So Snorlax VMAX. We already got these previously revealed, so I won't spend too much time, but Gmax Fall, pretty decent. 60 plus 30 more for all of your bench Pokemon. 340 HP is also the biggest Pokemon we have in the game right now, too. So, yeah, I think Snorlax VMAX has some potential here. We have Hoothoot and Noctowl. I actually do like the art on this. That looks pretty nice, I will say. So, Spirit Off into the Mountains. Pretty epic attack name. Shuffle one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, all cards attached to it into your opponent's deck. Then shuffle this Pokemon, all cards attached to it into your deck. But if your opponent has no bench Pokemon, this attack is nothing. So not a big fan of this. If this was shuffle both active Pokemon, I would like that a lot more. Otherwise, I think was it the Unpheasant that we have that does the same thing is just going to be better, but it shuffles both actives, which is going to be a bit better. So we have a new Oranguru. So Oranguru, once during your turn for attack, you may switch a card from hand with the top card of your deck. Okay, that's actually really not too bad. So if it's actually kind of like a pseudo draw one. Just because if you have something in your hand that you really don't need this turn, or like let's say you actually played a supporter this turn, and you have a supporter in hand, you can replace like your Cynthia for next turn with your top deck. Basically guaranteeing you still have a Cynthia for next turn, and also you get to use one more card for your turn. I guess also good with cards like End's Resolve maybe, or even like Rayquaza GX I could see. So maybe this helps ADP if you want to go, like if you want to play with that. Oh, the new Torkoal. It does more damage if you discard energy from the top of your deck. So, yeah, guys, I mean, and these are just ideas off the top of my head. There might be something else, too, that we're not noticing. But I actually do like this. If nothing else, like I said, guys, it's a draw one, effectively. So I actually think Oranguru could see play in this case. It actually makes your deck a little bit more reset stamp proof as well. If you are a deck that doesn't want to play Cinccino, if you don't want to commit space to a like a stage one like that, I actually do think this seems okay. I actually think I like Oranguru. So we got Wooloo and Double. This is the last Pokemon we're looking at here. 30, takes 30 less damage. 120, this Pokemon is 30 to itself. Nothing special, but we have some trainer cards left to go over. Quick Ball, thank God they made this card. You discard a card from your hand, search your deck for a basic Pokemon. We have been needing this so horribly ever since rotation. Since unless you're a deck that can abuse Cherish Ball, Tag Call, or Treasure, your deck really just doesn't see play. And Quick Ball, I think, really changes that. Now, all types have a form of basic search, and this is going to give a huge boost to non-GX one prize decks, and of course, decks that abuse Pokemon V as well. So Quick Ball, one of the best cards in the set. Super, super excited for this thing. We do get Rare Candy back, and unfortunately, it's just coming back as the version it's been for the last like half decade or so. I've really been championing to change Rare Candy back to a version closer to what it was in its original printing when you could play Rare Candy on the first turn. Like ideally, I think I want to see Rare Candy come back as you can use it, but you can't play it on the first turn of the game, but you can play it on your first turn or the first turn a basic was put down. The reason I say not on the first turn of the game is it prevents things like Amistar or Kabutops from being broken. But nevertheless, it is nice to have Rare Candy back at the least. I just wish they would have made this a little closer to its better version that it used to have. Just because I really would like to see Stage 2 Pokemon be more popular and more competitively viable. But again, nevertheless, it's happy to still have Rare Candy stick around. So we have Metal Saucer, another huge card that we're getting in the set. Attach a Metal Energy from discard to one of your bench Metal Pokemon. So I mean, guys, we've seen Dark Patch, we've seen Aqua Patch. These cards have been historically great. Metal Saucer is going to be no different in that regard. I mean, we'll have to go through the card pool and see what all has synergy with this. But of course, Zacian, I think, is going to be the big one that we get in this set that can abuse this. Of course, Zamazenta as well. Then, of course, we do have to look at other older Pokemon GX, maybe like Duskmane Necrozma, or maybe some other stuff I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. But yeah, Metal Saucer, super good card. It's going to change, the viability of all metal Pokemon going forward. So we have Citrus Berry. At the end of each player's turn, if this Pokemon has at least 3 damage counters on it, heal 30 from it, then discard it. I'm really not a big fan of this card. There's like certain like niche situations where this is better than, oh god, I forget the other tool we already looked at. But I think just generally having 30 more HP is going to be better than healing 30, just because this does nothing to change if you get one shot, whereas the plus 30 HP does. Now, if we are in a format that's largely based around 2 shots, if this was like just minus 30 every time your opponent attacked, like Eviolite or Hard Charm or something like that, that would be better. But yeah, just heal 30. Not a big fan of this. I don't think this is very good. So we have Fine Band up next, another card that did get revealed ahead of time. So it's a tool, and you just do 10 more damage. And as I kind of mentioned with Galarian Zigzagoon, sometimes 10 damage is the difference between a knockout and not getting a knockout. And so, yeah, even 10 damage, it seems insignificant, but depending on the numbers you need to hit, this card will see play, I would bet. We don't have Choice Band or any other really reliable damage modifiers right now. So Fine Band is going to be kind of the next best thing. And I think decks will play it if the math does change in a meaningful way. So we have Lucky Egg here. So it's another tool card. We're getting a lot of tools in this set, I've noticed. And if the Pokemon in this card is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, draw until you have 7. So this is actually a really good tool card, I think. And if I'm not mistaken, we did get this card before, back in the Diamond and Pearl era. If I remember correctly, I did quit playing like when Secret Wonders came out, so my knowledge on that era of the game is a little bit hazier after the first couple sets. But this seems pretty decent if you're a deck that doesn't have a tool card of choice that they really want to play. I think this actually is a decent tool to go with, especially if you are like a one prize deck or like a stage 2 deck that plays rare candies and things like that. Lucky Egg could be good at helping you just chain those evolutions that you want to throughout the course of a game. So I'd say a pretty decent fan of Lucky Egg. I think this is a cool card. Not sure what deck it fits into immediately, but I do like it. So next we have Team Yell Grunt. I briefly mentioned this card earlier. Put energy from your opponent's Pokemon into their hand. We don't really have Plumeria anymore. We don't have Team Flare Grunt or Team Skull Grunt. So this is going to be one of our only forms of energy denial that we have. So we could see this come into effect with like a control deck like Pidgeotto. It's not as strong as something like Team Flare Grunt, but sometimes if you go like Crushing Hammer, discard energy, and remove an additional energy, removing 2 from play, even though your opponent can put it back down, is going to be the difference in terms of your opponent being able to attack. And if you're able to just chain this every turn, and your opponent is relying on manual attachments in their deck, then, Team Yell Grunt can be good. So I think at a glance, it's not a super good card, but depending on the styles of decks that exist in the metagame, this could be a viable option for controlled decks. So it's not great, but it's a card you'll have to keep an eye out for. So Marnie, this is another card that got revealed ahead of time. Both players shuffle in. Then you draw 5 cards. Your opponent draws 4. Or actually, you shuffle your hand and put it at the bottom of your deck. You don't shuffle it into your deck. That is a big distinction. So it's a better version of Judge in most instances. So I think this card's good. Draw 5 usually isn't perceived as the best when we have something like Cynthia in the format, but if you're disrupting your opponent in the process, I think that's kind of seen as a win. So I do like Marnie. And then from there, the last card we're going to look at is Aurora Energy. I did see some people talking about this one. New special energy. Whenever you attach this from hand to a Pokemon, discard a card from your hand, but then while in play, it provides every type of energy. So this is a rainbow energy, but instead of the 1 damage counter, you discard a card. And that's actually really good in a lot of situations, to be honest. Think of something like Mewtwo Mew. This is an insane card because you can attach it and discard maybe like a Espeon Deoxys or whatever it might be, or something like ADP as an example. This could also be good in, especially if you want to run like the Rayquaza GX version of ADP. You can, attach this to your ADP, discarding a basic energy, and use Rayquaza GX to get energy out of discard. So I think this card is insane, especially if you're a deck where the 1 damage counter does change the math on one of your Pokemon getting knocked out. Aurora Energy is insane. So I think this is just as good, if not better than Rainbow Energy in certain decks, actually. So yeah, super good card. Good note to end our first impressions video. And with that, guys, I don't know if you can tell, I'm starting to get a little bit hoarse. I'm out of breath. We looked at a lot of cards. This is, the set's 120 cards big, which is very big for a Japanese set. Briefly, let's kind of quickly run through. I forget everything we looked at already. Aurora Energy's good. Metal Saucer, Quick Ball. I think Quick Ball actually might be debatably the best card in the set. It's a simple one, but I think it just gives such a boost to so many different decks. Rangaroo is actually, I think, probably maybe a sleeper card of the set here. Doesn't look great at a glance, but I think it's actually kind of decent. Out of all the VMAXs, I think Snorlax VMAX, Lapras VMAX, and the Stonejourner are probably the best ones. Snorlax is huge and tanky, can be powered up by anything. Expanded Skyfield makes this card ridiculous as well. The Stonejourner, insane healing potential. Lapras obviously has the unlimited damage cap with the Frostmoth we looked at. Obstagoon I'm curious to try out. Let's see. Morpeko is bad. Yeah, Frostmoth, as I said, that's good. Cinderace, this is probably debatably my favorite, one prize attacker in the set. I'm definitely going to try this out, no questions asked. I'm a big fan of Stage 2s in this style, so I'm going to mess around with this. Let's see. Yeah, Magnolia, obviously really good. Maybe this is actually the best card of the set. I might still give it a Quick Ball for the moment at least, but Magnolia is definitely up there. This card, draw 7, really good. Yeah, Air Balloon, I'm actually a big fan of this. Fishing Rod, that's huge. Kramer, actually surprisingly decent. Cinccino, obviously one of the best support Pokemon we got in the set. Zacian, very good as well. Corviknight, surprisingly decent. I really want to mess around with this. Berserker, I'm curious to try that out. Let's see. Gengar, not too good. Boltund, okay. Probably won't see play. Inteleon, busted ability, but unfortunately the attack was a little bit weak, though. Lapras VMAX, pretty good. Rillaboom, this is another card that we'll have to kind of comb through the card pool and see if anything benefits from this. And we're back to the beginning, guys. So that is going to be it for Sword and Shield. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. This is probably our longest first impressions video we've ever done on the channel. And like I said, we still are going to do a full set review closer to the release as well if you guys did not get enough in this first impressions video. So overall, I think it looks to be a pretty decent first entry into the Sword and Shield era. Definitely some really good staples coming out of this set with Quick Ball and Magnolia specifically, and some pretty good attackers and support Pokemon alike lumped into the mix. But definitely sound off below, guys. What do you think about this set? Do you like Pokemon V? Do you like Pokemon VMAX? I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised by how not broken VMAX Pokemon were. Really excited. I really hope they continue that trend. We have some playable ones, but they don't seem like absolutely game breaking in the way that some of the tag teams were. So really happy actually with kind of the direction the Sword and Shield era looks to be taking us overall so far. So that's kind of my thoughts. Again, guys, sound off below in the comment section. What do you think about Sword and Shield? And if you did enjoy this content, feel free to like and subscribe, and consider supporting this channel as well by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or by picking up some merch from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.